Anthony Joshua knocked out Francis Ngannou, put him down 3 times and knocked him out cold. And as most boxing fans expected, he didn't have any big issues with Ngannou, mainly because he was very wide, a very stationary target, and Joshua just punched through him. With such a big win, he will finally have many people in the public back on his side. With this kind of a performance, he really exposed the lack of striking game that Ngannou really has, and also Tyson Fury in a way, how awfully bad his performance was the first time around. And really Ngannou wasn't even quick enough to hit Joshua with anything. Joshua really then took the jab with the most, he ate one of the jabs and then put a pull counter in his face, and that's all she wrote. The right hand was really much the key to victory for Joshua. Nothing spectacular. I mean, the execution was spectacular, but just the basics, 1-2, 1, get the jab to the body, and he set him up. And he really could not miss on Francis. He was way too stationary. We could already see a few, I think there were some things that Francis did way better than in the Fury fight. He looked way more fluid, but that didn't really matter too much because Joshua just showed how much on a different level he is, and Fury never had the power to damage Francis in that way. Most people didn't quite believe me when I said AJ can easily knock out Francis if he connects, because punching resistance in MMA and boxing is quite different in a way. As I've said in the last video, if you get hurt in MMA or punched or kicked, there will be much more space often before the next shot comes, and you will have more time to recover from a big shot. And also, elite punches in boxing, they will not just hit you extremely hard, but they will be very precise. Joshua hit him right on the chin. Many of the MMA fans, they just can't understand how someone with this type of a chin, like Francis with his iron jaw or so-called, who has never been down in a fight, can get dropped one shot, who's just supposed to be a combination puncher. And they were really shocked from that one, and I hope they learn from that. Boxing stand-up is quite different from the MMA type stand-up. One thing that we have to recognize, I think, is that AJ looks quite different since the Otto Wallin fight, where he was technically much better, was competent on the inside, similar to in this fight, very quick and smart on the outside. Joshua normally was on his fundamentals, but he didn't have this type of a ring IQ, I think. So he really improved with that, and his reaction was much better. The game plan was of course very good, basic, but it worked. So they just analyzed the film, and I will get into that shortly, because Joshua for this fight trained with Ben Davison, and I think he might be the final fit for Joshua, to be honest. For this fight he worked with Ben Davison, and he might be one of the best things that probably happened to him, and could be the final fit as a trainer. I think he should stick with Ben Davison. He has clearly shown results in the fights that he has been with him and made rapid improvements on him, very noticeably. The punching technique, I mean, he in this fight, okay, against Francis, you could say, yeah, he could lay into the shots more because there wasn't no danger coming back. But still, there was a lot of pressure to perform on AJ. The Saudis were talking to Eddie and AJ. They were like, you have to win this one, or we can't get you back, or this MMA guys, they take over this boxing thing. So it was kind of an ultimatum, and he performed to it a level. Interestingly, if you noticed, there used to be a channel on YouTube called Lee Wiley's Boxing. For a few years now, Lee Wiley is actually working with Ben Davison. Now has become somewhat of a secret weapon, I think, because he's pretty much unknown under the normal fans, and he's a very great analyst, as you see. And he has probably analyzed the film for Joshua from Francis, looked through many films, and put together this good game plan with Davidson and trained and prepared Joshua for it accordingly. Mentally he was much more stable than in many of the matches we've seen him before, like with the Jermaine Franklin fight, where he was pretty much confused or not into it. I think he looked also too heavy in that fight. Maybe let's take a look. Actually, he was kind of the same weight than in the Franklin fight, but he looks much more slimmer, I think. Maybe it's just because he's standing next to such a big guy in Francis. Another thing Joshua showed with this fight is how to come back, basically, because most good fighters, or normal fighters, let's call them that, normal champions, if they get beat twice in a fight and lose the championship or so, they are often done or not the same anymore, and cannot come back to the form that they used to have. And it also looked to be the same way with Joshua, because after his first fight, after the Usyk fight, the Jermaine Franklin fight, that wasn't a good performance at all. And then he kind of improved rapidly, changing trainers until one thing sticked at least. Fought Selenius, which was a good fight, but there were still many things in that fight that was a bit worrying, if you say so. And finally against Warren, he seemed to put his form together and seemed to be something there now that is ready for a comeback. So the opponents they picked for his comeback trail may be not the best opponents to pick, but mentally this is the way to go. It's a good way. It's a good thing that it builds him up again to this position. The activity really is key to perform in these big fights, and I think that's one of the reasons why Fury and Wilder performed so poorly in their last few fights. They have basically just fought once a year or twice a year, and if you compare that with Joshua, who has now fought, also just 3 times, but 3 times is decent for such a high level fighter. 3 fights, 3 training camps in a year, and then now early 2024 the Francis Ngannou match, and he was prepared for it. Yes, you can say after all this, yeah, Francis was just a novice who has had 1 boxing match. Yes, but if you look at the statistic they showed on the Zone broadcast shortly before the fight went, they had something like a graph where it said over 50, it was like 55% of people pick Ngannou to win. And this was before the first round that they showed it. Many people underestimated Joshua, as I've said in the last video. So activity really is key, and I'm gonna give you another example, which was on the same card. Joseph Parker really did a good job here. Joseph Parker really revived his career after this big KO loss against Joe Joyce now. His last 2 wins were very good, not very entertaining, but career-wise, these were one of the best victories he's ever had, to be honest. Let's go shortly through what happened here. He fought Shilei Shang, the Big Bang. Shang is just such a big puncher, he just easily, without any effort, dropped him twice. It's like he has some of these George Foreman type punches where they don't look heavy, but they have a huge effect. And Parker took all that Shang had to offer, but Shang kind of looked finished here in this fight. Really, his stamina, it's like his hand speed was gone overnight, I think. I had Shang in a much better memory than this, to be honest, because in his fights against Joe Joyce, he showed great hand speed, he showed a good chin, he showed how fast he can think and so on, and he can also be aggressive and take someone out if he needs to. But in this fight, he was completely shot. His hand speed was gone. Joseph Parker had the faster hand. There was no sense of urgency in his camp, and he also at the end was just surprised that he didn't get the decision. I don't think he won a round besides the rounds where he got the knockdowns. Something is off with this guy, I don't know what. But credit to Parker, he got up and won on points again. Not very interesting fight to talk about, but you have to say, with these 2 wins in a row, first Wilder, now Shang again. What has he won now? Is this, I think, some kind of a eliminator maybe, or a mandatory spot? He won the WBO interim world title, and it looks like he might get a shot in anytime soon, to be honest. He might get it after the undisputed fight and so on, or be one of the guys who gets a shot. Now with this win streak, he really puts himself like in a top 3, top 4 position at heavyweight right now, which is a crazy run, thinking back that he just got knocked out devastatingly 1 year ago, and he's like the last one left, and he won. He won against the guy who beat him. Also, amazing run he had. And if you look at the reason why he maybe was that successful, I think the activity really was one of the major factors here. And sometimes such a huge loss can break people, but they can also motivate them, which can be the other thing that can happen. If I remember correctly, then he had this few fights against other people from New Zealand and Australia, I'm not sure. The first fight I don't think was very particularly great against Jack Massey, but he then seemed to collect a bit of a more of a speed here. He fought regularly. He also fought a guy called Simon Keane on one of the undercards on these Saudi Arabia fights, and won there in a good fashion in a third round KO, where he knocked him out with a great uppercut. And then 2 months later he fought Wilder, and Wilder was extremely inactive for I think over a year. This guy Wilder must have been training, but somehow he aged pretty badly, and I think he still has an incredible chin. If you look at the shots he took against Parker that he was standing at the end, the Tyson Fury matches, they definitely took a lot out of him. Still, Parker managed to go the distance with him, beat him, I think, in every round, didn't lose a round against Wilder, and they set him up for a Shang match and won that one again. So credit to Parker. This is one, I think, I don't know if you can call it an upset, but I didn't expect it. I think, yes, if Parker won, he would win by decision, but I thought, looking at the last few fights from Shang, I thought Shang would just pulverize him basically, but he didn't have the gas tank to do so, and now Parker's in an interesting spot where he can move up and fight the big guys. The last point I wanted to make is that this one also proves how, like, basically Parker proves that boxing is not a linear sport, but that styles make fights also, because most people would have counted him out just on the assumption that, yeah, he now fights the guy who beat him, he must lose, he has no chance basically. But just having a different height, different physique, different style, different mentality, this and all can make such a big factor that he then wins. It's just similar to the way, like, with Ali, Foreman and Frazier, they have also kind of different styles, and they gel differently and also get different outcomes against each other, and you couldn't deduct the outcomes of these fights in any logical way. So remember that if you to judge a future boxing match, and keep that in mind. Again, thank you for watching this time. If you're interested, look at the preview video I did yesterday about the Ngannou and AJ fight. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.